Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy, Sports and Fitness Rants? I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual. You guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives. And in this video, man, I want to talk about my man, Russell Westbrook, man, because Russell Westbrook is one of my favorite players, but there's a big but here. Like I said, I feel like, with Russell Westbrook, he never really developed the way that I thought that he should have developed, or the way that I thought he could have developed to really maximize his career. To me, Russell Westbrook kind of shortchanged himself because he didn't develop anything. He kind of got by off his athleticism, and he's a great athlete. And I want to talk about Russell Westbrook in this video, man, because sometimes, I say things like Russell Westbrook won an MVP in this era, and he would never win one in, the 80s or the 90s, for example. And, I think that sometimes people get upset with me or think that I'm kind of, being hard on Russell Westbrook when I say that. But we're going to talk about in this video, man, because it's really the facts, and it's not disrespect towards Russell Westbrook. It's just the facts here. But I want to talk about Russell Westbrook because he really is one of my favorite players of this past era, because there's not really many guys to get behind. And Russell Westbrook was one of those guys that I always liked because of his hustle and the way that he played, the intensity that he played with. And I want to talk about in this video, man. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states has been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, I am truly humbled by all the support, man. It really means a lot, guys, for real. Shout out to everybody in the membership. Like I said, the true basketball fans are standing up, man. So thank you to all you guys out there, man. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So yes, guys, like I said, man, I want to talk about Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is one of my favorite players of this era, of this past era, the 2010s era. Russell Westbrook is probably my favorite player of that era, man. When we think about some of the, the top players of the 2010s, we think about guys, obviously LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and, Russell Westbrook. We think about James Harden, right? These are some of the big name guys. These are the guys that were on the all-decade team, let's say, for the 2010s, right? These are the premier guys of the 2010s, right? These are the guys that you think of as the top 5, or top 10 players over the last, 15 years or so, right? When you think about the 2010s era, these are the names that you think of, more often than not. These guys come up. When we think about the 2020s, we think about guys like Giannis and Nikola Jokic and the Luka Doncic's and SGAs. And, these are the kinds of names that come up for the 2020s. At least in my mind, that's how I think about these guys. So if we think about Russell Westbrook, of the 2010s era, like I said, he's probably my favorite player of the 2010s. Not saying he's the best player, the greatest player of that era. Not saying that at all. But my favorite player-wise, because of the way that he played the game, his attitude, which I always liked guys with attitudes. I have an attitude myself. My parents called me Oscar the Grouch growing up because I was a grouchy, grumpy kid. And my personality is such where I'm kind of, people call me standoffish, let's say. And you see my demeanor, I'm very loud, I'm aggressive, man. This is who I am. But when I play basketball, right? I play like a Russell Westbrook. I play like a John Starks, where I'm reckless abandon, where I'm out there. And for me, I was called John Starks. Like, my high school basketball coach compared me to John Starks as far as how I played the game, the aggression, the effort, the hustle, the grit that I played with. I was one of those guys that loved to play defense, man. I was a point guard. Obviously, I'm not a tall person or anything like that. But my aggression at the point guard position, my defense, that's what I was known for. Locking guys down, giving that effort on defense, going all out intensity, man. Creating many steals. That was my thing. The coach would always say, man, this dude creates. I was probably averaging 5-6 steals a game in high school, just off of the effort and the hustle that I played with on the defensive end. And like I said, at my size, I never was really a shooter. So what I do is I drive the lane a lot, right? I use my speed and my quickness, my athleticism to drive the lane. That's what I did. I put pressure on the defense by driving the paint. That's what I did. I couldn't shoot for nothing. I drove the lane. I'm left-handed. So that kind of put people off. They didn't know I shoot righty, but I'm left-handed. So it threw teams off. I would always hear coaches say things like, force him left. And I would always laugh in my mind because I'm left-handed. But they thought I was right-handed. Force him left. And I would always use my left hand and blow right by guys and go to the lane and fish the left hand. It would throw people off. Like I said, back in the day like that because I'm shooting right, but I go with the left. But that was my game, to attack the paint, draw fouls, go to the free throw line, use my athleticism to get steals on the defensive end, the hustle and all that. That's what it was about, diving on the floor. This is what I'm talking about. This is how I played the game, guys. This is how I play when I play. That's it. I don't have all this fancy dribbling moves or I can shoot from half court. That's not how I played, man. Once again, I played in the 90s when I was in high school. That's not the way the game was played. But this is why, or one of the reasons why I relate to a Russell Westbrook all these years is because the way that Russell Westbrook played the game, especially when he was in OKC, this man would play with a reckless abandon, out there hustling, right? This is part of the reason why Russell Westbrook has been able to accumulate 200 triple-doubles, right? He had 200 the other day. So much respect and congratulations to Russell Westbrook. It's a testament to his hard work, his hustle out there on the basketball court. However, when I talk about Russell Westbrook on this channel, I've told you guys many times, to me, Russell Westbrook is not winning an MVP, really to me, in any other era. This era, to me, has some of the weakest MVP winners and some of the weakest MVP candidates, to me, in the history of the game. And that's not a knock on these guys. What that's doing is highlighting the greatness of the NBA's history. As much as people now, these clowns on ESPN, the La Media, these, fake podcasters, these ex-NBA players, as much as they try to discredit the past eras and try to rewrite history, the facts really show, guys, and the facts remain that the other MVPs of past eras, the guys who they were competing against for these MVPs, the competition was just stiffer. It was just greater players. Let's not forget that also the players voted on the MVP award up until, I believe, the 1979-80 season, if I remember correctly, guys. That was the first year that the media members, I believe coaches, started to vote on the MVP. Before that, it was the players. So the players had to say in who won the MVP. So for someone like a Russell Westbrook, when I make a statement saying that, to me, Russell Westbrook is not winning an MVP in the 80s or the 90s, I always say that. That has nothing to do with Russell Westbrook and taking away from his skills or his overall career, his greatness, but it's just highlighting the history of the NBA and the facts and the greatness of the other eras in relation to this era and like we said, how this era is not really as stout as the other eras. No matter even what they want to say, these guys are bigger, stronger, faster, they're more skilled today. That's not necessarily the case. Because if we use the word skill, for example, do you guys equate Russell Westbrook with skill? I don't think anyone's going to confuse Russell Westbrook with skills. And there's not a knock on Russell Westbrook, but that's not his game. If we think about Russell Westbrook versus a Steph Curry or a Kyrie Irving, for example, these kinds of point guards you would consider to have skills, right? They have better dribbling skills than a Russell Westbrook. You don't see Russell Westbrook really dribbling all over the place like a Kyrie Irving or a Steph Curry, right? Or even to a lesser degree, some of these other guys from back in the day, Tim Hardaway, Isaiah Thomas, he doesn't have the ball handling skills of these guys, Jason Kidd, or even a Gary Payne, a John Stockton. He doesn't have the ball handling ability of some of these guys that I've watched. To me, Russell Westbrook doesn't have it. It's part of the reason why he turns the ball over so much. But if we think about skills, Russell Westbrook has never really gotten by off of skills, off of the fundamentals, which a lot of those other guys I mentioned had the fundamentals. John Stockton, fundamentally sound basketball player. That's not Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has gotten by off of his athleticism. That's mostly what Russell Westbrook has been able to do in the NBA and be able to maximize his career is based off his athletic ability. At that point guard position, you can argue that Russell Westbrook is the greatest athletic point guard in the history of the game. You can argue that. He's up there with guys like Derrick Rose and, some of these other great athletes at that point guard position. Magic Johnson was a great athlete. His size. Anthony Hardaway was a great athlete at the point guard position. We think about his size and the way that he played the game. There have been many great athletes at that point guard position. Jason Kidd comes to mind, the things that he could do on the basketball court on both sides of the ball, rebounding. The man never got tired, Jason Kidd. It was just a great athlete. Like I said, you think about someone like a Kevin Johnson, the way that he could get up in the air and finish in the lane on some of these legendary big men back in the 90s, his quickness, all that. You had some great athletes over the years at the point guard position. Oscar Robertson, obviously, was an outstanding athlete. But when we think about Russell Westbrook and we talk about the athleticism of a Russell Westbrook, his ability to jump in the air, his ability to run the break, right? Just get out there and run the speed of a Russell Westbrook. Along with his dimensions, his height, he's about 6'4", about 200 pounds. He's pretty solidly built, Russell Westbrook. He's got a good size about him for that point guard position. He's not what you would be considered a frail player or a skinny guy or something of that nature. So when we think about that way, Russell Westbrook winning an MVP in 2017, I believe he won the MVP award. He didn't win it off of his skills. He won it off his athleticism, right? He averaged a triple-double, and that was because of his athleticism. He's an athletic freak at that position, and he hustles. And that's why I love Russell Westbrook, the heart and the effort that he gives out there on the court. My problem with Russell Westbrook has always been, like I said earlier in the video, is that to me, he did not develop. And what do I mean by that? So when I mention the word skills, and we talk about developmental or developing, Russell Westbrook has not developed a handle, no real dribbling. Like I say, he turns the ball over at a high volume. Russell Westbrook's mental IQ, his basketball IQ, has never really developed. He still does bonehead things out there on the court. He still just says stupid stuff, Russell Westbrook. So his basketball IQ has never really gotten any better. He hasn't gotten smarter the longer he's been in the league. You would think, like, you've been in the league 10, 15 years, you start to develop an IQ and develop, a feel for the game. To me, Russell Westbrook really never developed a feel for the game, so to speak. He kind of just goes out there like a chicken with the head cut off, and that's all great. But this is often the downfall for Russell Westbrook when, the postseason comes or, games start to get a little bit more tighter and the competition gets stiffer. This is where, Russell Westbrook starts to stumble and trip up. The lack of IQ, turning the ball over, taking bad shots, the lack of development, taking bad shots. To this day, Russell Westbrook takes a lot of bad shots. He forces up shots. He takes three-point shots sometimes. I'm like, dude, you're not a three-point shooter. You never were. And he takes these bad shots. This is part of Russell Westbrook. What is he, 14, 15 years into his career, still doing some of the same things? Lack of development. But to me, where Russell Westbrook really, showed that where he didn't do anything, where he just didn't come about or develop, really, to me, was on the defensive end. Russell Westbrook, like I said, I think he's been in the league 15 years now. And we just highlighted his athleticism, his athletic ability. Never made an all-defensive team. Never, to me, was considered a great defensive player or even a really good defensive player or an impactful defensive player. Now, yes, Russell Westbrook might be able to, create some steals here and there. And yeah, there's been times where Russell Westbrook will hustle and jump up and try to block a shot. But in all honesty, Russell Westbrook's never made an all-defensive team, even though, like I said, he has the size, the athleticism to have made an all-defensive team at least one time in his career. Just never did, because he really never gave the effort or really tried to become a great defensive player. Never really took the pride in that. You think about OKC, right? When you had James Harden there and Kevin Durant, those first, 3 years I think they were together. When we think about Oklahoma City Thunder and when Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant were on that team as the leaders, the best players, that team had a lot of talent, a lot of talent. Even after James Harden left, OKC was a very talented team. You had a bunch of guys coming through that roster over those years. Part of the problem for the Oklahoma City Thunder was their lack of leadership from a Kevin Durant, from a Russell Westbrook, but also the defensive end for these guys. So when people tell you, oh, Kevin Durant's a great defender, no, he wasn't. Never been. Never was. Yeah, he might have gave effort and was solid when he was on the Golden State Warriors, but he was never a great defender or a good defender on OKC. That's why you had guys like Andre Roberson there to play defense, right? Those were the defensive guys. You had guys like Thabo Sefolosha, Steven Adams. Like, these guys were there as defenders. That's what their job was to do. Their duty was to defend at those positions. That wasn't Kevin Durant. He wasn't known as a defender at those positions. So you have those guys there to defend those positions. Okay, same thing with Russell Westbrook. Never known as a defensive player. Never known as that guy that was going to go out there and lock a guy down or dig in defensively. Just never consistent like these guys, which is part of the reason why they never made an all-defensive team. So Russell Westbrook's been in the league all these years, has all this great athleticism. He has the dimensions. Never made an all-defensive team. That's literally on Russell Westbrook, lack of effort. Lack of want to. You didn't want to be a great defender. You didn't take any pride in that aspect of the game. So he continued to go out there and grab rebounds and get these assist numbers and take all these shots, and he put up all these triple-doubles, and that's been great. And I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook is stat padding or, doing. Let's think about this. When Russell Westbrook had, 3 or 4 straight seasons averaging a triple-double, it really came out of necessity. Kevin Durant left him high and dry. James Harden was gone. There's no one on the team. So, yeah, you had a Paul George come there a couple of years later. You had then Russell Westbrook went to Houston to play with James Harden. But when he was there, left in OKC for those couple of years without Kevin Durant, he had to do these things, right? He had to kind of just use all that energy and use his hustle to get these kinds of stats of production. And the things about it was that OKC had a winning record with Russell Westbrook getting triple doubles. So it wasn't like he was getting triple doubles at the expense of the team winning, the team success. They were actually had a winning record when he had triple doubles. So much respect to Russell Westbrook. But like I said, never made an all-defensive team, was never known as a great or a solid defensive player. To me, he kind of was a letdown on the defensive end. He could have literally sacrificed some of the other areas and focused more on defense for that OKC team. So when I think about Russell Westbrook, and I tell you guys that he's not winning an MVP in any other era, that's not a knock on Russell Westbrook or to disrespect him or to tear him down and make it seem like he's not a great player or he wasn't a great player, because he is a great player. Like I told you, he's probably my favorite player of this era for the way that he plays. I had a couple problems with Russell Westbrook. Like I mentioned, the lack of defensive intensity or consistency, never making an all-defensive team in this weak, soft era. To me, Russell Westbrook should at least be a 4 or 5-time all-defensive team selections, at least. It don't have to be all first teams, but he should at least have made 4 or 5 all-defensive first, maybe a couple of seconds. But you never made any. Like I said, it's just sad to me. You know, guys like Drew Holiday have been stout defenders at their point guard position. Russell Westbrook is a much greater athlete than Drew Holiday, but just never really gave that kind of effort, that kind of intensity to, you know, be that guy on the defensive end. And once again, I'm not knocking him or tearing him down and saying that he's not a great player because he didn't do this. This is one of my problems with him. And also what I've noticed about Russell Westbrook over the last several years, and we've talked about this, I've made videos about this guy, is the sensitivities of Russell Westbrook. He was sensitive, man. He got a little sensitive out there. You know, people would say crazy things, and I get it, man. People say crazy things, man, that they shouldn't probably say in public, that they shouldn't say to another person, right? But at the same time, once again, it's words, man. Ignore these fools, man. Don't let these people get to you. You're getting paid millions of dollars to be a professional, to deal with this kinds of stuff. But these guys, they get real sensitive, man. And Russell Westbrook is, you know, he's arguing and yelling at fans, trying to get people removed. I'm not with that stuff, man. That's corny to me. You know, and that's one of the things I had a problem with Russell Westbrook, was that he was getting a little sensitive, man, a little emotional. And we all know why. You're playing with LeBron James, right? You start getting death threats from people. Everyone's making fun of you, all your turnovers. That's all they talked about for Russell Westbrook when he played for the Lakers for a year and a half or whatever it was he was on the team. The man played for like only a year and a half for LeBron James, and it tore down his entire career. Russell Westbrook became just some regular dude. The guy's an MVP winner. But they were talking about him like he was just another guy. Just some role player. Just some, like I said, just nobody. So you guys know the deal, man. I love Russell Westbrook as far as the way he plays the game, man, and the hustle and the effort he gave. He just never developed, man. He left his entire career, and his game has been predicated off athleticism. So when his athleticism has been going downhill, his game has gone downhill. And, you know, he's just inconsistent now. You know, where the effort was always consistent and the numbers would be there, you know, the numbers are not there now for Russell Westbrook, right? The consistent athleticism, he just doesn't have it anymore. And because he never developed an overall game, never really worked on a jump shot like that, right? I mean, if you look at Russell Westbrook and you think about his free throws, it's gone downhill. Russell Westbrook used to be like an 80% free throw shooter when he came in the league. And then all of a sudden he's shooting in the 60s, in the 70s from the free throw line. It just went downhill for him. I don't know, like I said, he just did not develop. He did not work on these things. The ball handling, he still turned the ball over at a high level from Russell Westbrook. He's always going to have a problem with the turnovers. The IQ of Russell Westbrook never really, you know, developed into anything. Never got smarter. Just seemed to just stay on par with what he was doing, which is part of the problem for Russell Westbrook. And this is why, to me, when I say that Russell Westbrook will not win an MVP in any other era, it's not a knock on him. It's just the facts. So you guys know the deal, man. Shout out to Russell Westbrook, 200 triple-doubles. Like I said, man, the hustle and the effort that he gave on the court, man, the intensity, the attitude that he has, I appreciate and I respect it, man. Like I said, it's a shame that he never been an all-defensive team or became a stout defender. I think that could have been a game changer for Russell Westbrook if he could have been more of a two-way player. Just never was really that two-way guy. And I feel like he could have done it. He had the athleticism, he had the body type to be that guy. Just never did. And it's the fact, guys. He's not winning an MVP in the 90s or the 80s, 60s or the 70s, the 2000s. He's just not. And like I said, it's not a knock on him. It's the facts, guys. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.